So if we look at the first, right there, our hourly usage, you can typically tell our evening time is when most of our facilities are getting used, between the hours of 5 and 9. If we go down, we start looking at Altamont and the other elementary schools. You can see that it's fairly split between community and the school usage. If you look at Cordis there, a lot more school usage than community usage. Hanson's about half and half. Lammersville. Mountain House High School, as you can see, most of that is our groups that are using that. So all our sports and our clubs and various organizations at the high school. Probably about 80% it would be using it, and then the 20% would be community use, various facilities when they're not in use. And if you're going down Cuesta, Wickland, the same thing. It's pretty much community. It's split community and school use there.
Any questions? Facility use report? No. Seeing none, we'll move on to item D, denied applications, staff report.
So on denied applications, there's about 13 there that we have that you can see that were denied. There's various reasons, but there's three main reasons. So the first one is always a lack of coverage. We try to accommodate all the groups that want to use the facilities. Lack of coverage being custodial, someone able to open the school for them and cover the event. There's also lack of insurance or proper paperwork that typically results in a rejected or denied application. And then the third thing would just be the site is not available itself. So for some reason it's already taken and they wanted it, and so they double booked and it got rejected. But that's your typical rejections for the sites and the permits.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, one question related to like the custodian coverage, right? It's come up often again and again. So is there a plan to address that, or maybe we can have a third party custodians hire on a temporary basis or something that looking into that? I don't know, but just throwing up an idea. I know that is constant issue coming up always.
So
And some people reach me also. Can you help me with that? I think you guys email you also on that.
Would you like me to answer that?
Yes, please.
So the facilities are for student use. And the fact that the Lammersville Unified School District allows the community to use the facilities, that's an option that we can do for the community, which we do. The custodians are there to clean and keep a safe environment for students. And generally, school districts don't hire custodians to handle outside events or to be like a Parks and Rec department, which is the responsibility of the city, not the school district. So when we hire custodians, it's all about keeping the rooms clean and safe and making sure that every classroom is ready for learning every morning, and that student events are all set up, ready to go, because, I mean, as you are probably aware, we have a lot of events at the high school alone, as well as all the other schools, and the custodians do setups for all of those events, all the student events. So,
And to add to that, I think that there's another level of that, even if we wanted to hire custodians, there's the union that has an agreement that we need to abide by our agreement with the union. So the way it works is the custodians have been very good about donating their time to work overtime a lot of times, but they're not forced to because they do have commutes, and so.
Thank you.
you bet.
Moving on to item E, reimbursements to organizations.
So the reimbursements there, it's a very short list. Typically, the two reasons for reimbursement would be the group itself cancels, and then we give a refund for that, or there was a double booking, so the schools always come first. Sometimes a group will reserve a spot, reserve a school, and then the school needs it for a function, and they find out, and so we have to change it for the school, and then process a refund that way. So those are typically the two reasons why we'd have a refund.
Any questions? Moving on to item 5, information and discussion items. Item A, LUSD and MHCSD pool and tennis 2-year agreement discussion. Staff report?
So in your packet, there is the pool agreement between the Mountain House CSD and Lammersville Unified School District. The pool agreement is essentially the same agreement, 2-year agreement that we had last time. We had a 2-year agreement with CSD. The fees are in there, the discounted fees that the CSD came to the board and had a discussion with the board and the board agreed to are all in this agreement. The dates and times of use, the times of use are the same as they were the previous school year, previous agreement. And the time period for the pool use is approximately the same as they did the previous year for the summer months. The document that you have is marked up because they gave us they being the CSD gave us a agreement that mimics what we did the previous 2 years. And there were just a couple questions from their attorney that I had to answer. My answer's in pink. And then when the attorney responds to Laura, who's here in the audience tonight, we'll have the final copy. And when I come to the board, if everybody agrees tonight, when I come to the board, I'll have the final copy for approval for the board. And that's the pool agreement. And then the tennis agreement is essentially the same as the agreement we had previously for tennis court use when our students aren't using the tennis court for community use on the weekends and such.
And these are used for summer also, like previous years, they used to have the same run for public, anybody can
Yep.
join. I think this is a good initiative, it helps community.
Yeah, it's a shared use, and then the fees go through Mountain House CSD, and then they pay those fees after they take their fees off of the top. Those fees come to the school district for the use of the facilities, so that we can update facilities as needed with facility use funds, which is on the agenda tonight.
Oh, that's good.
Any other questions? And we do have Laura Johnson here from the CSD. She's over Parks and Rec.
Oh, she's-
And can,
I don't know how much is the fees you guys charge for like last time when they opened for summer, I remember, I did have my 3 kids going there. And they did for summer camp, I think for 10 classes, or I don't know how many.
If you're referring to the pool, we
Yeah.
did have an open swim program
Yeah.
from 12 to 4 p.m., I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
2 to
that
6
one.
p.m. The other times we had contracted with the Sailfish Swim Club, and they offered all of the lesson programs.
So it should be similar to what you guys offered before, right?
We're still in negotiations, but yes, that's what we intend to do.
And it's open for public anyway?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's all I have another.
And just so you're aware, the open times are around our swim and water polo team use time. So they use it in the morning and in the evening.
I think it's a good one. I'm very happy. At least my kids can go in summer and swim.
any other questions? Thank you for being here to answer questions.
Thank you for having me today.
Moving on to item
Can I
B.
ask a question? So am I good to bring this forward when I had the last version, bring it forward to the board? Okay,
Yeah, thank you for your answer.
sorry to interrupt.
No worries, I should have asked. Thank you for getting that covered. Item B, banners tiered fee system. Staff report?
I think Jen is going to project for us on the screen. We discussed this at the previous meeting, and there were some suggestions made by the group, and I brought those suggestions back. One of the things here, this is our banner authorization form that is standard that we use in the district. And what you can see is the third to last bullet where it says banners fees may be found here. And I think we need to change that to banner, not banners. Jen, would you make a note of that? Banner fees may be found here. And then that banner fee schedule will be a live link that will take them to the next page. Can you show the next page? And this page will be on our website. Pending approval by this group, and we'll take this to the board when we have the whole handbook all gathered together. But here's the banner fee schedule. You probably remember I brought this last time with only to Tier B, and it was suggested that we add a Tier C for those out of town and change the fee structure just a little bit. So that recognizes our conversation. And then I'll just read the bullet points. Tier 1, 1A, 2A organizations are not charged for banner placement on site designated fence areas. Tier 2B and 2C organization will be billed prior to the placement of the banner on site designated fence areas. And then all inquiries go to the Director of Operations at email. There will be a change in the process, which I'll discuss more when we get to another item on the agenda.
And on the tier 2A where it says youth groups, government agencies, nonprofit, that's only Mountain House.
Correct.
Could we add that, maybe, Mountain?
Sure, yeah, we can add that, yeah. Let's see if I have my copy, yes.
Any other questions or comments?
All right. I thought the fees on the last two columns were the same, but just too small on this screen. When I turned around, I could see the numbers.
They are what we discussed and what was suggested, the 30 and the 50. Okay. And then just so I want to make sure everybody understands that we have been pretty, like I said at the last meeting, we've been pretty lax when it comes to asking for nonprofit organization number. If they've provided it in the past, we've been pretty lax because of the lack of services in our community for the last 6 years. So starting, and this will be communicated by Jason's office, starting with the next school year, we will send a communique out very clear to everybody that's ever done a banner with us and say, if you do not have a active nonprofit number, you will not get the nonprofit rate. You'll be charged. They have to prove that and show that, and it has to be an active nonprofit number. And then the other two are self-explanatory. For-profit in Mountain House and Tracy get 30, and then for-profit outside of Mountain House and Tracy, like some of the places over the hill in Livermore, Pleasanton that we've had come over, and other places, Brentwood, they'll pay the full 50 if they still want to do it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Any further questions? No. Okay.
If I may add, my plan is to add this to the facilities handbook. We'll add it as an addendum in the rear where all the other forms are, so that it's there ongoing and people can research the facilities handbook and it's all in the same place for ease of use. As long as everybody's good with that.
I'm good with that. Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
All right. Moving on to item C, facilities improvements, total cost $34,243.51. Staff report?
So there are 5 items on here that staff believes would be appropriate to pay for out of facilities use fees monies. The pool windscreens are in need of replacement. They're getting a little ratty from the wind and from just use. Tennis windscreens are kind of in the same spot. Then the high school asked for Generac portable lights to be used out on the south field, because in the fall when it's dark we have a lot of teams and a lot of sports and a lot of band activities, things like that could use those fields past dark. And one of the things that I noticed is that in my hometown of Manteca, they use similar lights because they have the same issue and use fields longer than just sunlight. So the principal of the high school got us a quote for a set of lights that would be powered by diesel fuel, and it would help our students. And then I think at some point, once we get used to the process, we could rent them out too as a part of field use. If you want to use this field, these lights are here available. it's this amount of money, just like we talked about with the field lining tool that we paid for earlier in the year.
Sounds good. I know that occasionally the foundations and PTAs have events where they could utilize these as well, so that's something that we could look at in the future.
Yeah, there have been, in fact, the high school had a big event a year or two ago, I can't remember, that in the quad, and they wanted portable lights, and I think we had to rent them. If we have them, that would be helpful there, and then, you know, if we have events that need extra lighting, we can just move them and use them, so.
Nice.
And then the tennis nets are time to be replaced. And then the life ring preservers at the pool need replacing, and that's the total list.
So are you seeking for recommendation to bring this to the board?
I am.
Is everybody okay with that?
I'm fine with using facility monies for these items.
And I will bring it to the board.
Moving on to item D, new position, maintenance, operations, transportation, and facilities department. Staff report?
So we have a position in the school district, administrative secretary position in our school district that we have at the high school that we use for all the facilities at the high school, scheduling of all the facilities for the high school, all the transportation vehicles, all the vehicle use at the high school, and all transportation for the high school in the district when it comes to busing or anything like that. That position is about 75%, that's her job. The other 25%, she works at the high school doing extra clerical duties. We also have Jason's assistant at the warehouse, who is a higher level employee that is supposed to be Jason's assistant and Jimmy's assistant, scheduling, doing the meetings, you know, doing things like that. Now, one of the things that we found over the last 6 months, which has really come to a head recently, is that his assistant is spending about 75% of her time with facilities. Handling phone calls, emails, scheduling facilities for external use, for the use of the community for LUSD facilities. Now, right now we have over 300 user groups, is that right? Active? We have over 300 active user groups using our facilities on the weekends, evenings, holidays, whatever. So they're spending a great deal of time with facilities. Now, Jason's position, he's a director, and in the month of January, he averaged about 3,500 emails regarding facilities. His assistant, 5,000 emails, and then the requisite phone calls that are followed up with that. So one of the things that we're discovering is that we don't have enough staff to do parks and recreation for Mountain House, as well as do their regular job of making sure our facilities are clean, making sure that everything is good to go for our kids at the school sites. So with that said, our superintendent 2 weeks ago said to me, you need to get a new position, take that through facilities, bring it to the board, and go through the process because this is just ludicrous. So that's what I'm asking for here. This position, I would like to be full-time, facilities, banners, all these things that we do that are really community-based. And some of it obviously is nonprofit and our boosters and folks like that also use our facilities. We need one person, one point of contact that can do that 24/7 and free up his assistant to actually do the job that his assistant is supposed to do. And that's assist him and Jimmy LeGrand, director of maintenance. So my proposal is I'd like to bring a new position with the agreement of this group, paid for out of facilities use fees, because this person will be doing that all day long, to help with that department. So we can clean up our communications with the community, clean up our communications with the nonprofit groups, clean up our communications with school sites and their reservation of facilities, et cetera, and have one point of contact with a backup being his assistant as a backup. And the individual at the high school that does all the facilities there, all the transportation there, she would be the other backup to that position. And then we would have 3 points of communication, one that is full-time facilities, the other two have similar but different roles, and I think we would cover the job better.
I have a question about that. I mean, is this proposal like intended to kind of stop looking into like what Jason presented a few meetings ago, the Facilitron registration? Will that like be our Facilitron, so to speak?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. In fact, we were just talking about that. Our opinion, Facilitron won't work in our school district because there are too many people that will go on to Facilitron, not get what they want, and then call anyway. I mean, we have a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails from folks constantly trying to use our facilities, our fields, our gyms, our MPRs, our classrooms, our cafeterias, et cetera. So I don't think that the Facilitron product would save us time in the next 2 years. I think it would take the community a while to get used to that, and I don't think they would like it. I think they like talking to a human being and hearing, hey, here's what we're doing, here's why we can't do it, because we haven't found a custodian yet, but we're still working on it. Give us a minute, right? I think that's what the community would rather hear than just going online and no, yes, or whatever the case may be.
I personally agree. I think that's a really great fix and suggestion to use the facilities funds is, very appropriate. Are there any other thoughts?
I just had the same question, but it was asked and answered. So I'm assuming we're no longer looking into Facilitron or alternatives to it, because I know it was discussed that there may be some other products out there that might be better for our situation or what have you.
So we had our director of IT, he went to the big tech conference for schools in November, I think it was. And I had him on the lookout for a new ticketing system for the district, as well as something like Facilitron or something better. And there wasn't anything better out there. And until there is something that is more consumer-friendly and communicative, I don't think that will work for our community.
All right.
So.
Very good.
Do you have a question?
No question. I just wanted to add to my new position, right? Point of contact, having a full-time guy working dedicatedly. There is always a helpful, human touch and human contact, which increase your satisfaction, customer satisfaction, and all those stuff, rather than communicating via email or via those, other point of channels, communication channels. Mm-hmm. That's really helpful. It will be helpful to the community as well as you guys, handling the load. That kind of load is too much. Communicating like 3,000, 5,000 email. It's tough.
Yeah, it's a lot.
A lot of typing, Jason.
I think it's an excellent use of facility fees because, as you pointed out, it's just to facilitate the facility department, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I think we have a consensus that this should move forward.
Do we have a start date when there's going to start interview process or publish?
I wish it was yesterday.
Yeah.
But no, it has to go to the full board, and it's not going to the next board meeting because docs have already been turned in for the next board meeting. So it'll go to the board meeting on the 21st. If the board approves it on the 21st, the position, then as soon as possible afterwards, we'll post the position. And usually we post positions for at least 2 or 3 weeks. So we're not looking at getting this position probably till mid-March. if we have,
Reasonable, yeah.
if we have good applicants and we hire, from the pool. So I have guidance to go with it.
That's right. All right, so moving on to item E, facilities use and overtime. Staff report?
So the other day, and this connects to the position, these two things are related to the position prior and to a general sense of being Parks and Rec for the Mountain House region. And when I say Parks and Rec, I don't mean that in a negative way towards the Mountain House CSD. I mean that we have all the facilities in the community. We have the most grass in the community. We have all the buildings in the community that could be used by the community. So we've been a good partner, I think, with the community, providing use of the pool, use of grass, use of the tennis courts, use of our gyms, use of the school facilities, et cetera. But some of it is getting kind of crazy. A weekend passed, 2 weekends passed, we had 12 custodians on a Saturday and 13 custodians on a Sunday working overtime at a variety of facilities, but at most of the facility use on the weekends is the high school. And some of these events are pretty big, 300, 400, 500 people. Some of them are in our MPRs where there's 500 people in our MPR. And in our handbook, we have rules of how many custodians need to be present to make sure that everything goes okay with those events. And I just want to point out to this committee that we have an average of 100 to 110 hours of use per weekend across the district. 20 employees work the overtime out of 30 employees available. 90% of those employees are custodians. About 10% are maintenance staff and nutrition services staff who step in to help out when they can. And I already told you the number of emails that these folks get and the huge amount of hours. So like October, we had 400 hours for the district used for the month of October. And that's all weekend use. Most of it's weekend use. And that's all sites. So I guess what I'm saying here is I want to make sure this committee knows and understands, and the public if they're watching, that our school sites are for students. They're for our kids. They're for our kids and the activities that our kids participate in, whether it be after school volleyball or after school basketball or soccer or swim team or football or track, or you guys all know. I mean, all those different activities. But the other thing that we have are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, sometimes thousands of community members using our facilities over the weekend. That's going to gobble up our facilities. Carpet's going to get bad. Damage is going to occur. Surfaces, like the basketball courts, like the small gym and the big gym, the MPR, surfaces are going to get used more. The theater, the stages at the MPRs are going to get used more. The curtains, the sound systems, the projectors, the custodians spending huge amounts of time. That has only gotten bigger since I got here 6 years ago. And in the last 2 years, it's gotten huge after COVID because all of a sudden everybody came back out and this community is huge now. It's 30,000 people now. And it is big. I was over at Cordis the other night looking at a group that was using our fields that I thought without a permit. And Jason did some investigating and he said, yes, they put in for a permit, but there was some problems, but we got it squared away. But then I looked at the grass where they've been using our grass and there's complete huge dead spots. 50 by 50, where they've been using the fields. And what we need to understand is when we use all this stuff that much, when our kids go out there to use it, it's going to be in a different condition. And that different condition may not be as we desire. And I just want to make sure that this group knows that it's more and more and more, and it's not stopping. I thought maybe it would slow down a little bit, but no, we're just having more and more groups that want to use our facilities, which is great. We want to be good partners. But as an educator, which is my job, I want these facilities for our kids. They're for our kids. That's what they were built for. They're for our kids first. And I just want to make sure this group knows that we're using our facilities a lot. And at some point down the road, a year or 2 years from now, we're going to have to do an analysis and look and see what we're doing, because we may have to put a stop to some of this for our kids.
And I believe, not to go back to Facilitron, but that was one of the things that it could do. So do we have a way of analyzing, do we have a system in place to analyze that?
We're going to.
Okay.
He's our system and his assistant, and we're going to track data, and we're going to have regular inspections of fields and things that are being used on a regular basis, and we may have to suspend. We got to suspend use to do a replanting of this field in this area before our kids use it next, or whatever the case may be. But we're going to have to get more strategic in that realm. Even though we open new schools every 2 or 3 years, we're going to, I mean...
The use just keeps growing?
Yeah, and Costa, wait till Costa opens. It has a cricket field. That's going to be used every weekend, every week, which is great for the community, because it's going to be a beautiful cricket field. But that's the next thing, right? So,
Well, I, for one, would be in favor, if it's deemed necessary, to put limits on how much a certain field can be used. We can only, for instance, we can only use that field for public use 2 days a week, because it's just being overrun and worn out, and it's not in the condition that our students should have it in.
Well, because I mean, you know, with the grass issues, it becomes a safety issue too that's concerning to me to think about for kids at recess, you know, like rolled ankles. And I mean, I've almost rolled my ankles, you know, not at our school grasses, but other grasses that are in, you know, that kind of condition. So it, Trustee Pombo's point is well made, I believe.
so we will do an analysis, and the other thing I think that goes with that is sometimes people are going to be told no. And there are a number of groups in this community that will go around Jason to other people in the community when they're told no. And that is difficult as well, because sometimes we're still trying, which I think this position will help with that communication, in that, look, we still haven't gotten enough custodians to do this. We're still trying. But sometimes people are worn out. And, you know, Super Bowl weekend's coming. I'm going to wager that there's going to be less people that want to work on that weekend. And so some people may be told no because staff doesn't want to get paid overtime to go do that on the weekend. So I just wanted to kind of paint a picture of where we're going. We're not at DevCon 5 yet, or whatever the number is, or 1. I don't know if it's a small number or a big number, but it's something that we're analyzing and we're going to keep track of, and then we're going to report back to this group on.
I appreciate that, because even though I don't like to think about how much time has gone on since I've moved to Mountain House, because I was here pretty early on, our schools aren't as new as, you know, in my head they're still new, but Cuesta was my new school, and it's like over 10 years old, you know, like in my village. So our facilities are getting older, and I see what other districts deal with aging facilities, and so we want to make sure we maintain them for the decades of students to come.
I believe Cuesta opened 13 or maybe 14 years ago.
Any other comments about that?
I just have a question that's not related to anything in particular, but everything that we discuss here. When we charge custodial fees, do those monies go into our facilities pot, or are they segregated to actually pay for the custodial?
Well, the first thing they do is they pay for the staff, and then they go on to the finance report. That's earlier in the packet, that finance report. The leftover funds go into that fund, which is where we took these items.
So that's getting paid directly from the facility use fees?
Correct. So like the pass-through money from the tennis courts, that goes straight into that account.
Okay. And I just wanted to make a point that when people see the the balance in the facilities monies, it looks like a lot of money, right? But when you start talking about replacing the football field at the high school, for instance, that's going to cost $500,000,
Maybe more.
maybe more. And, you talk about resurfacing the floors in the gyms. That's a high dollar issue. You mentioned carpets, not cheap. And so all these things that we have to, replanting grass that gets worn out, all these things. So that looks like we're squirreling away a lot of money, but when we have to start replenishing and replacing some of these things, that money's going to go really, really fast.
Well, I mean, look how fast it went for the small facilities improvements we are sending to the board today. I mean, that's like $35,000 just.
We just redid the basketball courts with some federal money that we had, but that would be totally appropriate for this fund. But that was just under $100,000, was it? Yeah, it was. I think it was $89,000 to do the floor, and that wasn't a full redo. That was a strip down and a build back up. That should last us 4 or 5 years. So yeah, the things that come out of there are big chunks sometimes.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to item F, California Voting Rights Act, CVRA. Staff reports.
So as some people might know in this group that have maybe seen this presentation once or twice, the California Voting Rights Act is important to the Lammersville community because we are going through some changes with board elections and the processes that we go through for electing board members in Lammersville Unified School District. So I am giving this presentation because this is a different group that hasn't seen this presentation yet. So here we go. First slide. Public agencies throughout California have begun the process to transition to by-trustee area elections to better ensure compliance with the California Voting Rights Act. On December 13th, 2023, the Lammersville Unified School District Board of Trustees took action in the form of a board resolution that will lead to trustee voting areas in Lammersville Unified School District Board of Trustee elections. The transition to voting areas will take place over the next 2 election cycles, November of 2024 and November of 2026. This PowerPoint is intended to give a general overview of the CVRA process. The district has established an information link on its website to assist the public by providing key sources of information, which that link will be later in the presentation. At-large elections, board's current method of election. Board members may reside anywhere within the boundaries of the school district. Registered voters within the boundaries of the school district may vote for all seats on the board. This is how it currently exists. The little red dots are the trustees and little blue dots are registered voters. Next slide. District-based by-trustee area elections. The district's divided into trustee areas. Trustees reside within a trustee area. Voters only vote for the trustee within their specific trustee area. As you can see, the election areas become delineated with imaginary lines throughout the community, and you would have election district 1, election district 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because there are 5 trustees, 5 board members, there would be 5 voter areas. Next slide. So the potential benefits of by-trustee area elections promotes a less expensive process for candidates to run for the board. Potential positive impact on minority groups' abilities to influence elections. And the district is afforded protection from the California Voting Rights Act claims. So step 1, hearing procedures. There's a pre-map hearing, 2 public hearings prior to preparing proposed by-trustee area maps. First one scheduled for January 17th, which already happened at 7 p.m. in the district boardroom. Map consideration hearings, 2 public hearings to consider proposed by-trustee area maps. And then the map adoption hearing, public hearing before adopting final by-trustee area map. Step 2, county committee review. The San Joaquin County Committee on School District Organization will hold at least 1 hearing on the district's selected map and then vote to approve it or deny it. Other considerations regarding trustee area elections. Terms of current board members are not changed by transition to by trustee areas. All incumbents retain their seat for their elected term. No change in the exterior boundaries of the district and no change to school attendance boundary areas. If you would like more information on the California Voting Rights Act, you can go to the district's website, click on About LUSD, and you'll find the little button down there that's California Voting Rights Act, and you can click on it and find out more information. And then here's what it looks like on the website, information about what we're doing, and some links that you can see the resolutions that went to the board. Any further questions, you can go to this website, call that phone number, and we can direct you back to that website. Thank you.
Is there any member of the public that would like to comment? Provide input. Okay, seeing none. Item G, Facilities Committee, tentative meeting 3/14/2024. Is that still on the calendar?
Yeah, it's one of the meetings that we can choose to have or not have. It's up to the group.
What does the group think?
I don't know, we probably don't need to decide tonight. We can see what comes up between now and closer to the,
Like we did before the holidays?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I think that's
All right.
wise. Okay. Moving on to item 6, future agenda topics and meeting dates. Item A, future agenda topics. Staff report?
Well, our next meeting is on May 9th if we don't have the March meeting. And usually I bring the facilities handbook to that meeting for all the updates and all the different changes that we've made this school year for the handbook. So I will bring it on that date for review by the committee. You'll get it before the meeting so you have a chance to read through and see the changes. And then upon approval by this group, I'll take it to the board, the full board for approval, whatever board meeting is after that May date, and go through the process.
Any other discussion about the agenda topics? No? Seeing none? Move on to item B, 2023-2024 meeting dates. Staff report?
should that be 2024, 2025 meeting dates?
Well, I think we already covered, usually we set the next meeting dates in May, so I think we already covered that. The March 14th, we'll see what happens, kind of like we did before the holiday.
And May 9th, is May 9th the last? That's the last one.
That's the last
Oh,
one?
That's right, that's the
Yeah,
last one,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're covered then. Yeah, I didn't know, okay. So, we'll move on to item 7, and we will adjourn the Facilities Committee meeting at 7:16 PM. Thank you for